My name's Tom Robinson. Today I'm with Andrew Myatt, a former Farm Sprayer Operator of the Year at Stoll Park Estates. Last year, Corteva issued best practice advice for applying Inatreq. To illustrate this, we visited Andrew to see his approach to sprayer hygiene and maintenance. It is clear that implementing this advice significantly reduced the number of issues, including here on Andrew's farm. We've come back today to see what other hygiene and maintenance measures Andrew has introduced. First, let's revisit what Andrew showed us last year. Before filling the sprayer, always read the label because there may be some special tank rinsing instructions for the product or products that you're putting on. The best place to rinse out the sprayer is in the field. It is impossible to clean out a sprayer completely because you've got a circulatory system, and typically when the sprayer is empty, there's between 0.5% to 1% of the total tank volume left in the pipework. And what we're doing when we wash the sprayer out is diluting the chemical that's left in the machine. And the way we get the best rinse is to divide the clean water tank into 3. Andrew started off his sprayer clean out procedure by spraying out the spray mix completely before he started rinsing. And you can see that's happening by the air coming out of the nozzles. Andrew's clean water tank is 1/10 of the volume of his sprayer. It's a 4,000 litre sprayer, a 400 litre clean water tank. And to get the best rinse that he can, he now transfers 1/3 of that tank through the rinse nozzles into the main spray tank. And he does that by timing. It takes him 30 seconds to empty 1/3 of the clean water tank into the main sprayer. He then sets off, spraying out that 133 litres that he'd emptied into the tank, and he'll stop when air's coming out of the nozzles. He's got the sprayer as clean as he can get it with the first rinse load, and he'll stop and refill another 133 litres and then carry on and repeat the process. And he will do that 3 times, and that is the best way to get the cleanest possible rinse with the smallest amount of water. And on a newer sprayer with the 0.5% residual volume, it will be more than 20 times cleaner when we divide the tank into 3. It may at times be tempting to leave spray mix in the tank, such as when you're going to be spraying the same product the following day, or it may be tempting to load the sprayer up at night before going spraying early the following morning. Don't. Spray mix always attacks the internal components of the sprayers, and the sooner you can clean it out of the sprayer, the longer your sprayer will last. It's essential that your rinsing procedure covers all parts of the sprayer, including the induction hopper and the boom circulation system.
I usually take this opportunity to have a look around the pipe work on the sprayer while it's folded out in the field. On this particular machine, the gradual swept elbow, avoiding the sharp fluid movements in the solid, saves risk of a flexible pipe perishing on a fold. You're also checking for any mechanical faults, that there's no cracks in any welds, all nuts are tight, all up against where they should be. On somewhere like this where we can see that it goes against, we've put a little bit of extra pipe in, another sleeve, to protect the inner water pipe. All the pivot points, we're checking that all the pivot points grease them regularly. Again, looking for cracks. In the metalwork of your boom, the essential bit to look for is cracks. The flushing filter on this machine allows us to quite regularly just twist the tap and flush the filter, the inline filter on the pressure side of the system, back into the tank, and then it will then be sucked back through the main filter, which we clean more regularly. So anything that's drawn on water-wise would initially go through there, and then when you're actually pumping the spray around the tank to spray out, also goes back through there. The flush back to tank you can do quite regularly, so you're always keeping that clean as you pass by. When you're in the spray store filling up, that's quite easy to do with the turn of a lever. The main suction one, more of a weekly sort of thing, or definitely when we're changing between crops. Boom, folded up, it's on its cradle, so it's in its safest formation for me to get in here to get access. Right, Tom, I've just brought the filter out to show you. Yeah, a little bit of residue on there, not too bad. If we can't knock it out in situ, we have to take it for a clean. As you can see on this side, we can also check any of the, well, we've got good access to it. Pipe work on the pressure side of the piston and diaphragm pump. The induction hopper, which we use mainly when we're filling in the spray store. Yeah, check you've got no drips coming from it when you've got the water going through it. Check that all your pipe work again is good. Keep the condition good, and you won't have problems. Well, the Ramsey box help us maintain a consistent, even pressure. One of our maintenance program on an annual basis is to replace the rubber inside it, because that's something that gets a fair bit of stick. And if you're a farm where you're using a lot of powders and that, these things cause more problems.
How often do you wash down the outside of your sprayer?
It's one of those things as required as much as anything. What we're going to do now is pressure test everything. That means we push the pressure up at least 2 bar above our normal operating pressure. We do it after we fitted new parts or repaired any pipe work, and potentially we do it beforehand at different stages just to check that we haven't got faults. By going for the increased pressure above what we normally operate at, we push the pipes to the more extremes. If they're good there, they'll be good at the lower pressure, and if they're good at the lower pressure, we keep spraying. Maximum we'll ever spray at is between 3.5, maximum 4, so we're pushing it up to 6 bar to be able to do a test through. So we put the pressure up, we then walk around the entire machine again, looking for any weeps on joints or slight splits. We're looking for leaks.
We're going to have a look at winter maintenance now, please, Andrew. And the goal of winter maintenance is preventative, that we'll have a trouble-free season of spraying with our machine.
Yeah, no, we'll do a bit of a strip down, show people what to expect. Mark up, so you can put everything back to match. So once we get that one in line, we know that's right. When we go to the other side, the pressure side, we'll put extra marks on there so we know we can't cross over the sides. What I'm doing here is removing the manifold. You'll find on a piston and diaphragm pump you've got 2 manifolds. One's the inlet, where on the suction side, which is this one. The other one is on the pressure side, so the water will flow in that way and not backwards. So you strip them out, and in the 2-season rebuild we change those. So 1, 2, 3, 6 of those. Get them all out, you can inspect. Sometimes I have come across in the past, you'll get a cracked spring where one isn't quite working. Right, so here we are on the pressure side. And the first thing you'll notice when we take the one off on this opposite side, the valves are the other way, facing towards you. That's allowing the chemical water mix to come out of the pump and exit into the manifold before it's distributed down to the boom. With the 2 manifolds off, that then gives us access to the heads. Good practice, because you get onto an aluminium body, is you want to replace every head back in the same position it came from. These are a different size bolt, so keep them separate so you don't mix them up. And that's your head. This gives us access to the diaphragm, which is the bit we want to replace, because these are constantly moving over a small amount and you can get splits in them if you don't change them regularly. A sign that you've got a problem with the diaphragm is if your oil in your reservoirs becomes very milky.
There's quite a selection of diaphragms here. There's Desmopan. I've got an MBR one here and a Blue Flex one here.
So we'll go ahead and just strip this one down. With the scheduled maintenance, we're replacing them regardless, but it's always worth having a look to see if they are in good condition, the old ones, so you know your pump's been behaving well. If you do come across a failed pump mid-season, i.e. you get the cloudy, milky oil, you'll probably find there'll be a split across one of these rubbers, and it could easily be just one of the pistons out of the 6 that has a problem. So when we come to rebuild with the new diaphragms, everything's in the reverse order. The only difference or added thing I would say is the bolts are going into an aluminium body. Don't over tighten them, otherwise you'll create your own problem. And a good way to help reduce that for when you come to do your next rebuild, use copper slip grease on all your bolts.
Andrew, out in the field, we discussed the Ramsey box. Its proper name is a Ramsey pressure set, and I'll talk you through how it works for those of you who are not familiar with it. How it works is you have an air chamber in one half of the pressure set, and liquid comes in, goes through this gauze and up against the rubber diaphragm here and out. And the flow through here is governed by the pressure in the system. It's in the return. And so if you want your sprayer to work at 2 bars, you have 2 bar pressure in the air chamber. And irrespective of how many sections you've got working, it will compensate. This diaphragm will shift to alter the flow, and all the nozzles that are working will spray at that 2 bar pressure. Andrew will kindly show us how he services a Ramsey box.
Right, so having removed the Ramsey box from the sprayer, disconnecting your pipes and your mounting bolts, get it on the bench. As you can initially see, there's a ring of bolts all the way around the outside. They've all got to come apart. A good point, if you've got chambers and certain valves that want to be in a certain direction, put a mark on one and match it to the other place. So you can put it back in the right order at the end. But we'll begin by removing the bolts around the ring set. As you can see, we took a few of the bolts out earlier to make it a bit easier. So having removed the valve, the rubber wasn't on there, so it was attached to the bottom of there. Just peel them away. Likewise on the other valve. So then with all the bolts out, the ringer bolts, you've got 2 top bits to it, which just needs a little bit of rocking apart. First bit off, solid piece. The bolts for the valves are captive inside it. And then, as you can see coming apart in this, you can see the wear and fatigue in an old Ramsey. Check for any problems, and possibly easy at this stage to put the new one on, then you know it's in the right place ready. The old one out the way. Turn that back over because you know that's the direction it came off. As you can see, the coloured is facing upwards, so make sure you put that back in the right position. And then the thicker of the other seal, which is the same other side, remove that. Place your new one back on, check it's all good around, make sure it's a bit of a clean up. Keep your coloured side up, line up roughly, and refit in the reverse order. So having taken the bolts out, you've got the plastic sort of cap on the top of it. So your first few are always going to be the hardest ones to line up. Once you get a few in place, the job will become easier to do. First one in there. Done them all finger tight to begin with, because what we're basically doing is squeezing rubber. I'm led to believe there is no official torque setting, it's hand tight. Work around them, just gently do begin with, get them all to a similar sort of feel. Right, and I think we're all good to go on that part. The final bit is to put the two gaskets for the valves on and replace the valves back in the right order. With the mark, we know that that one was on there like that, and we know that one was on that one there, facing there.
Andrew, how often do you change the gaskets on and diaphragms on the Ramsey valve?
We will have and always done is replace those on an annual basis. During our winter overall, we always change the Ramsey. It's a simple, effective thing to do.
And how long would you say it takes to do that on your Bateman, please?
I suppose it takes as long to get it on and off the machine as it does to actually do the changing. So as you've just seen, yeah, a little bit fiddly at times, but I don't know, half an hour in total and you've knocked the job into the corner.
In the winter maintenance, Andrew, we've done the pump and now we've worked through the Ramsey valve, and we're now down onto the booms, where we've got different types of check valves.
Starting at the simplest type of nozzle body system, multiple nozzles or single body nozzles, using the flow, the liquid flow, to create a pressure in the system to work against the check valve. When the flow rate stops, the spring in the check valve pushes the little DCM like that against the thing to stop the dripping.
And there's quite a few different types of diaphragm available. We've got that one's EPDM, these two here are Viton. There's a choice of different materials, often from the same manufacturer. Over here, we've got two air stop systems. They just screw on where the DCV was, and they operate at a pressure between 3 bars on some and over 5 bars for other. This one here is an Arag one, and it will have a diaphragm check valve in it. They can be made of many different materials, Viton, Teflon. EPDM's unlikely because these are much tougher on the diaphragms than the traditional one. So an annual change of the diaphragms is recommended with those. And then our last one we've got here, because it's a different type of system, is the Duo React.
Duo as in that it's got multiple bodies that can be on it at once, using air to pressurise it against the piston, which is located inside there, with a spring to pressurise it in for the off mode, and likewise this little foam rubber ring here is an air filter, so look after that as well.
We've moved out into the farmyards, and Andrew's going to show us some of his other maintenance techniques. First of all though, Andrew, would you tell us about your experiences with Inatreq in 2022, please?
2022, like a lot of other operators, we did have problems. Our main one is we run a Hypro Duo React nozzle body, which has a little piston with the multiple O-rings on, and we found that the end O-ring was breaking up, and that would drop off and drop into the nozzle body and block the body, and that happened quite frequently in 2022. We were using a water rate of 100 litres as well at that stage.
In light of your experience, what did you change for 2023, and how have you got on in 2023?
2023, as discussed, we did our usual Ramsey seal change. The pistons and diaphragms, we did a service on that, and additionally, having had most of our problems with the piston, looked at changing the little O-ring on the end, but noticed we were getting the other rubbers were swelling to a degree as well, that we decided to change all 64 pistons on this 32 metre machine.
How long have they been in the sprayer up until then?
The sprayer had done 4 seasons at that stage on the same set of pistons.
And so what was your maintenance programme on those?
So when we decided to change all the pistons, unfolded out in the yard like we have here, decided to do it just prior to the T2 application, so that when we went into that using the Univoc product that we did, that we were in our best possible state with all our rubbers. So yes, the approach we had was to strip a line down and remove all the old pistons out the way before coming back and replacing the new ones. Inside the first bit there, be careful with the springs. I put them in one jug and the caps in another. As you can see, you can get across quite a bit of distance quite quickly. Specialist bit of equipment, pair of pin nose pliers, and you can remove them like that. I was then chucking them in another bucket. When I put them back in, we got a bit of silicone grease, as you can see there. We just smear that around it just to get out with the seal and the flow of it. As we talked about last year, maintenance is prevention, and that's, you know, time in the field spraying when we want to. There you go, see that's three done, stripped them back together in a very short period.
Yeah. Thank you, Andrew, for sharing with us your best practices for sprayer hygiene and maintenance. What are your plans for applying Inatreq next year?
Next year we will do the same as this year, change the pistons in the nozzle bodies, triple rinse at the end of the day, maintain the water rate at 180 litres to comply with the 0.7%. Yeah, that will allow us to keep going when we want to keep going. Well maintained, washed out, ready to go on the days that we need it.
Inatreq Active is a cereal fungicide for the control of septoria and rusts. For application of any product containing Inatreq Active, Corteva has issued the following best practice guidance. The maximum concentration should not exceed 2 litres of product in 285 litres of water per hectare. A maximum spray concentration of 0.7%. Inatreq spray solutions should not be left in the spray tank overnight. At the end of each day's spraying, operators should rinse through the sprayer tank, pump and lines. Inatreq should not be used in sprayers equipped with pulse width modulation technology. Corteva recommends replacing pump diaphragms annually, ideally with NBR or Blue Flex parts. Abide by the pump manufacturer's service recommendations. For anti-drip diaphragms, EPDM parts are recommended, or operators can modify air shut-off anti-drip valves to use Teflon replacements. If neither of these options are possible, Corteva recommends replacing all existing pneumatic anti-drip diaphragms or pistons with new parts before spraying products containing Inatreq. It's important to check these after use too. If your sprayer has a Ramsey box, you should replace the diaphragm seal during winter maintenance. For more information, go to corteva.co.uk/Inatreq advice.